Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship at Stony Brook. My name is Sarah Lutterby, and I am happy to be serving as your very temporary worship associate this morning. I want to offer a special welcome to any of you who are visiting us or here today for the first time. We are delighted to have you here with us, and we look forward to getting to know you. Please plan to stay following the service and join us as our guests for coffee hour, where you'll find lots of friendly folks to answer any questions you may have about us. Please remember to silence your electronic devices. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join in singing our first hymn, number 166 in the gray hymnal, Years Are Coming.
Let us enter into this space made holy by our presence. Let us enter into this hour made holy by our intention. Let us enter in. Let us worship together.
I've asked John Seppler to light our chalice this morning. We kindle the flame of our faith in the cup of our covenant. May it be a beacon for us, guiding us on our way.
Good morning, beloveds. I'm always making a big mess up here with my props. So our time for all ages this morning is from a story called Just Help, How to Build a Better World. It's written by Sonia Sotomayor, who many of you know is a justice on the United States Supreme Court, actually the first Latina justice, or Latinx justice. She grew up near Long Island in the Bronx. Our service today talks about people who serve or help our country by being in our Army or Navy or Air Force or Marines. Most of us don't serve in the military, but there are many ways to serve and many ways to help our communities. This story is about kids who help and serve. So every morning, Sonia, I believe she's speaking of herself, every morning, Sonia got up and had breakfast in her kitchen with her mommy. Every morning, her mommy asked the same question: how will you help today? Now, Sonia's mother was a nurse who helped people every day in a hospital, and Sonia wanted to have a good answer every day. One morning, she had a very good answer. She filled a plastic bag with candy, warm socks, pens and notebooks, nice soups and sunglasses. When she got to school, she found her friends lined up at some tables. They were sorting the gifts and putting them into boxes that the postal workers would pick up and ship to troops overseas. Sonia's friend Kylie was very excited about this campaign because her mother, who she missed very much, was serving overseas, and it made her smile to think about her mother opening a care package. Now, once all of the boxes were packed, Brooklyn picked up all the plastic bags and took them to the recycling bin in her school. Brooklyn had set this up when she learned about how sea turtles were dying from ingesting plastics in the oceans. She wanted to help, so she organized the recycling bin at her school. Once school was over, the kids went to a park next door to the school, and it was filled with litter, as we know we sometimes see. "Come on," said Gabriella, "let's clean up the park." So the kids all picked up all the litter and threw it in the trash cans. And then Lucas wrote in chalk on the sidewalk, "Please keep our park clean. Don't litter." Now, when Jasper got home from the park, he saw that his room was a mess. So he started cleaning up his room, and he found some unopened toys in there. I imagine some of our children have had that experience. And then he remembered once when he was in the hospital, and he loved that there were toys for the kids in the pediatric unit. So he packed up all the unopened toys and took them next door to his friend Maya. Maya's dad worked in the hospital, and he knew that her dad would take the toys there. Maya also started cleaning up her room. See what a little littering can lead to? And she found there one of her favorite sweaters, and it was red, white, and blue. It was a very patriotic sweater. Now, she remembered that her friend Edmund was campaigning outside a local bookstore with his parents to encourage people to vote. And that, of course, is one of our principles, the right to practice democracy. So she took her sweater to Edmund, and he put it on over his shirt, and he was so happy. He just loved it. And right then, Samir and his mom were walking by, and Samir said, "Mom, did you vote?" And she said, "I forgot." He said, "Let's go vote. My teacher says that voting is your voice in the community." So off they went. Now that evening, Sonia's mommy asked her how she had helped. And Sonia told her about the boxes for the soldiers, the plastic bags, the playground cleanup, the voting, but also about the postal workers who came and picked up and mailed off the packages, the sanitation workers who would come and empty the garbage cans from the park, the people who worked at the polls so all of us could vote. Everyone helps, she said to her mommy. Amen. Now we're going to sing the children out with the Reeves Children's Benediction, which is in your order of service. And I invite our children to follow. Michelle and Susan, could you stand up? We're all going back to the yellow room first today. Following the spoken meditation, we will observe 1 minute of silence, followed by meditation in song. Our song today will be number 399, Vine and Fig Tree, which I think we're singing in a round, yes? Is somebody going to lead? I'll lead one part. Do we have is one of you leading the second part? Maybe? Yes? Okay. So we're going to sing that in a round, and we'll have two of us. One. I'll be leading this side, and John will be leading that side. This and that. That's very helpful, right? If you're at home, you sing in whatever part you want to be in, and I'll be leading on the pulpit side, and John will be leading on the piano side. Our spoken meditation this morning is by the Reverend Norbert Chapek. It appears in Bless All Who Serve, which is the Unitarian Universalist devotional for military personnel and their families. Hear now the words of Norbert Chapek. It is worthwhile for me to live and bravely fight for saintly ideals, although disappointed 1,000 times, and perhaps even to fall in this fight when everything would seem in vain. Blow angry winds through my stony body, you will not conquer my soul. I have lived in the center of eternity, my soul will be eternal. My living was worth it. Whoever has been set upon from all sides, but with his soul has conquered, is welcome in the chorus of heroes. Whoever has broken his shackles and given wings to his mind is marching into a golden future.
Thank you, John. It was, it was one of those things that was in the script, but we didn't rehearse ahead of time. Sometimes we just roll into things like that. Good job. Thank you, and thank you again for leading. Our reading this morning is from the Tao Te Ching. It's number 31. This is also printed in Bless All Who Serve. The finest weapons are the worst evils. They are universally loathed. Therefore, help guide your nation to the non-aggressive path. The wise hold steady on the passive yin path. Those who are aggressive prefer the active yang. Weapons are instruments of coercion and devils of death. Resort to them only in dire necessity. Peace is our natural state of being. If weapons must be wielded to defend ourselves, and we are victorious, never rejoice. Can there be joy over the slaughter of others? On joyous occasions, we attune with the yang side. On sad occasions, with the yin. During battle, the soldiers are on the left yang side, engaging in combat. The commanders are on the right yin side, observing the action. After the battle, the soldiers who have slain others move to the yin side and mourn, while the commanders now on the yang side are celebrating victory, even though it is a funeral.
When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries? When will the fighting cease? When will we live in peace? When our love breaks boundaries?
Thank you. In our meditation this morning, we heard the words of Norbert Čapek, Unitarian minister before the merger, right, and from Europe. So the Czech minister Norbert Čapek, who died in a concentration camp in the Second World War. He speaks of individual sacrifice. Not about battle itself or wars, but the individual sacrifice. And in our reading from the Tao Te Ching, we hear about the broader view about war and fighting in general. And it's important to recognize that those who ultimately do the fighting are not the ones who choose the wars or start the wars. Politicians who declare wars sit safely at home and send others to do the dirty work. I say dirty work because when we think of war, it is dirty. Even if you believe in just war theory, and I want to tell you that I do. I am not, by definition, a pacifist. A pacifist rejects all war at no matter what. And we might have pacifists here, and I totally respect that. But I think it's important for you to know that that's not who I am. Okay? But it's important to remember that those who do the fighting, those who go, whether drafted or volunteer, or if they're volunteers, go for many different reasons, but they don't choose the fight. Now, especially since we no longer have a draft in the United States, and especially since we've been involved in some very unpopular, and I will say questionable, wars. Starting with the War of 1812, but I'm pretty sure we don't have any veterans of 1812 here, right? And Vietnam was not the first questionable war that we engaged in. Nevertheless, as a nation, and I believe that the United States is the most warlike nation in the history of the world. We've spent more years in battle than in peace in the existence of our nation. We have a complicated relationship with those who serve in the military. Why do we have such a complicated relationship? Because we as a nation, regardless of our individual feelings, we as a nation send folks off to fight, and when they come home, what do they represent to us? They represent the war. They represent unpopular wars. Now, after World War II, veterans came home and they were welcomed as heroes because the majority of people saw that as a just fight. But nobody who is fighting chooses the war. So we see them, and they are a reminder to us of what we have done as a nation. And it's very easy to make scapegoats of our military members. Why else might we not know what to do with our veterans? Well, because we teach people to be soldiers, we teach people to be battle ready, we teach people to fight. At the minimum, to do what they need to do to survive. But we teach people to fight and to kill. People come back with moral injuries. Have you heard of moral injury? Some of you have, yeah. And we know people come back with all kinds of health issues, physical and mental health issues, but people come back also with moral injuries. And sometimes people have a hard time adjusting to a society that's meant to be peaceful. We haven't had a war really on our own land since the Civil War. Fighting is always over there. I mean, that was in a First World War song, right? Over there, right? Some of you of a certain age might know that song, Underwear, but yeah. It's hard for people to adjust. Soldiers are reminders of our political failures. They're having a hard time adjusting, and so what do we do? What do we do with things that we're embarrassed about? Yeah, put them away. Stick it in the closet. Ignore it. So sometimes our soldiers, our airmen, our sailors, and our Marines end up receiving our anger, or our apathy. But, beloveds, when we are focusing our anger and frustration on veterans, we are misdirecting our emotions. Friday was Veterans Day, November 11th. In this country, we make November 11th Armistice Day, the end of the First World War, the Great War, the war to end all wars. That worked well. We celebrate Veterans Day on that day. Most of the world uses November 11th as Memorial Day, but we already had a Memorial Day, and that's in May. Why? Because we're a warlike nation. So that's our Veterans Day. And it's the day that we set aside one day a year to remember and honor our veterans. Now, sometimes we do cheap fake honoring. Sometimes when people see a military person in uniform, somebody they don't know, like in the airport or wherever, they run up to, "Thank you for your service." Well, okay. Or I see those magnets on cars, the ribbon magnets. I support our troops. I always want to ask them, okay, that's great. How are you supporting our troops exactly? What are you doing? I mean, I know you have the magnet. You went there, you got the t-shirt, but how are you supporting our troops? We have an all-volunteer force now. And people join up for many different reasons. Many people joined after September 11th, right? They felt our nation was attacked. I need to do my part. Many people join for economic reasons. Our enlisted troops especially have a huge number of folks who are there because it was their best economic choice. So who are we sending to fight? Poor people. That's great. Some people join because it's been a family tradition. Everybody in my family has served, and I'm going to do my part. Many different reasons. But whatever the reasons, once someone is in, you don't get to choose. You don't get to say, I don't think that conflict, I don't think we ought to be involved. I'm going to sit this one out. If you're in, you go where you're told to go when you're told to go there, right? And people go and see things and experience things, and beloveds, we are losing 22 veterans a day to suicide. Yeah. I heard that. I don't know if you at home heard the big groan in the room here, but that was groan-worthy, right? Oh. Why? Well, certainly because people see things and experience things that are traumatic. But what about when they get home? What help is available? Well, don't we have the Veterans Administration? We do. Any of you ever used VA healthcare? The waits are long. I think it's incrementally getting better, but people wait a long time, especially for mental health care. And when we ask people to wait a long time, sometimes they just can't. So how can we be part of the solution? How can we really honor veterans? I mean, a free blooming onion is great, but that really doesn't solve any issues. What can we do? Vote. We can vote. I'm not going to quiz you or ask you to raise your hands, but I hope every one of you voted this last week. Our votes make a difference. Our politicians have been much more willing to get us involved in conflicts when their children aren't serving. When it's an all-volunteer force and they know their children are safe at home. Write letters. Get involved. Advocate for the Veterans Administration. If you really want to thank troops overseas, like do things and send something, there are many avenues to do that. The USO often has care packages that need assembling. And I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but they have a massive assembly line. You go and you pack care packages. That's a great thing to do. Sometimes in the airports, you can buy phone cards for military members who are serving, so that they can call home and call, right? That's a good thing you can do. But advocacy is probably the best thing we can do. Advocacy for better health care, more access to health care. Advocacy for diplomatic solutions and war only as a last resort. And if you see a veteran and you are moved to say thank you for your service, ask yourself, am I doing this to make myself feel better or because I genuinely want to say something to this person? And if you do go up and thank people for their service, back it up. Back it up with your actions. I know that we're not going to misdirect our anger. And one way we can show that we appreciate those who have served or who are still serving is to make sure that folks know they are welcome here. Beloveds, when I tell you that some of our own Unitarian Universalist chaplains and others in uniform have been greeted with hostility in UU spaces, that doesn't make people want to come back. It certainly doesn't want to make people let others know that they've served. And how can you be fully yourself or work on healing moral injury if you have to hide that part of yourself? I know that no one here will ever walk up to a person in uniform in a UU space and say, I don't agree with the military. I know that we would never do that. But friends, I have seen it. We can make space right here. I hope that if you have military service yourself, if you are serving or have served, if you are a military dependent, that you can let people know that here, that you don't feel you have to hide. You are welcome here. Do you know I'm a chaplain in the Civil Air Patrol? That's the Air Force Auxiliary. It's not, that's not my paid job. But in the Air Force or in the Civil Air Patrol, we would say, I've got your 6. You know what your 6 is? It's your right. 12, 1, 2, 3, 6 is your back. You also know that if you've ever watched Indiana Jones. Right? Okay. We need to let people know that we have their 6, we have their back. Beloveds, I've got you. And I know the rest of us here will too. Can we all say, I've got your 6? See, we got each other. We're good. Beloveds, I love you so much. I love you so much. Thank you for paying attention today. Let us work for a world where there is less war and no war and more peace, and where we still honor all those who have served. Namaste. We're going to take some time now to honor the veterans who are here among us at UUFSB. If you're a military veteran or are still serving in the military, I have copies of Bless All Who Serve for you, compliments of the Unitarian Universalist Association, and I also have copies for any military dependents. These are made available for free from the Unitarian Universalist Association to military members, veterans, and military dependents. How is it that we're able to do that? Through generous contributions of Unitarian Universalists or anybody else who would like to make a contribution. So if you feel moved to support this program, see me later. I'll tell you who to contact so that you can donate toward that. They're also available for purchase in the UUA bookstore if you would just like to have one and you're not a military member. I say again, if you are a veteran or currently serving, you are welcome here. You are loved here, and we would like to recognize you now. There are no longer any veterans of World War I who are still living. But in the United States, we celebrate Veterans Day on Armistice Day on November 11th, which was Friday, the end of World War I. So let us observe 1 minute of silence to remember all those who served in that war, the ones who returned home, and the ones who didn't. Thank you. Do we have any World War II veterans among us today? Yeah, I thought that might be unlikely, but I did want to ask. How about any veterans of Korea or the Korean era? If you are a veteran of Vietnam or the Vietnam era, I invite you to rise at this time. You are representing, my friend. If you are a veteran who has served in any conflict or during the time of any conflict, I invite you to rise at this time. If you are a veteran who has served during peacetime, I invite you to rise. John, I'm going to invite you to stand up again. And if you're currently serving, I invite you to rise. Beloveds, these are our UUFSB veterans. Will you say with me, we see you. We honor your service. We are proud to have you among us. We've got your back. Yeah. Thank you. Our veterans have been sustained by families who have also made sacrifices. If you are a military dependent, I invite you to rise now. The two of us, okay. Three of us. No, well, not necessarily. If you're part of a military family, so a military dependent, you're, if you ever had the little dependent card, married to the child of when you were a little child and your parents were serving. Beloveds, these are our people. Let us give thanks for their presence among us. And I have books for the veterans and any of the dependents after the service.
It is our spiritual practice of generosity to share our offering plate with a local organization working for justice and the repair of the world. Our shared plate recipient for the month of November are the Shinnecock Kelp farmers. This 501c3 organization is the first Indigenous-owned and operated kelp farm on the East Coast. Colonial settlers in the 1600s made deals with the Shinnecock people that reserved for them the right to harvest seaweed. The Shinnecock kelp farmers are reviving that traditional practice. Raising and harvesting sugar kelp is a way to fight water pollution because the kelp absorbs the nitrogen, phosphorus, and carbon dioxide that harms marine life and causes algae blooms. Once harvested, the kelp can be used as organic fertilizer. Please give with generosity to support this worthy project. The offering will now be gratefully received.
My dearest son, it's almost June. I hope this letter catches up with you and finds you well. It's been dry, but they're calling for rain. Everything's the same old same in Johnsonville. Your stubborn old daddy ain't said too much, but I'm sure you know he sends his love. And she goes on in a letter from home. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, and they all laugh like there's something funny about the way I talk when I say mama sends her best y'all. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work, and it keeps me driving on, waiting on letters from home. My dearest love, it's almost dawn, and I've been lying here all night long, wondering where you might be. I saw your mama and I showed her the ring. Man on the television said something, so I couldn't sleep. But I'll be all right, I'm just missing you. And this is me kissing you. X's and O's in a letter from home. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, and they all laugh 'cause she calls me honey, and they take it hard 'cause I don't read the good parts. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work, and it keeps me driving on, waiting on letters from home. Dear son, I know I ain't written, but sitting here tonight alone in the kitchen, it occurs to me I might not have said it, so I'll say it now. Son, you make me proud. 2, 3, 4. I hold it up and show my buddies like we ain't scared and our boots ain't muddy, but no one laughs, 'cause there ain't nothing funny when a soldier cries, and I just wipe my eyes. I fold it up and put it in my shirt, pick up my gun and get back to work, and it keeps me driving on, waiting on letters from home.
I invite you to join me in dedicating our offering. The words are in your order of service. To the work of our faith, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings. Amen. Thank you. I invite you to rise in body or spirit for our final hymn this morning, number 159, This Is My Song. Beloveds, go in peace, go in love, go in the community we build together, go always in the footsteps of the holy. Amen. And now we extinguish our chalice flame, for our worship has ended and our service begins.
This last song is a tune that was written by Woody Guthrie, but he never recorded it. And somebody found it, and it's been recorded by a couple of artists since then, more recently. The chorus is pretty singable. We were hoping it was going to be in the order of service, but it wasn't. But we'd like you to sing along with us if you are willing and able. It's pretty simple. It goes, peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming round my land, my city, and my town. Peace, 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 I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace. And we're going to go through it one time. Peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming round my land, my city and my town. Peace, peace, peace,
I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace.
So sing all of it, part of it, whatever part you like. Open your hearts to the paradise, to the peace of the heavenly angels. Take away that woeful shadow dancing on your wall. Take to the skies a peace, oh friends of peace, of the one great Spirit. Get ready for my bugle call of peace.
Peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming round my land, my city and my town. Peace, 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 I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace. Thick war clouds will throw their shadows, darkening the world around you. In my life of peace, your dark illusions fall. Think and pray all the way, embrace the ones around you. Get ready for my bugle call of peace.
Here we go.
Peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming around my land, my city and my town. Peace, 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 I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace.
If these war storms fill your heart with 1,000 kinds of worry, keep to my road of peace, you'll never have to fear. Keep in the sun and look around in the face of peace and plenty. Get ready for my bugle call of peace. Peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming around my land, my city and my town. Peace, 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 I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace. I'll clear my house of the weeds of fear and turn to the friends around me. With my smile of peace, I'll greet you one and all. I'll work, I'll fight, I'll dance and sing of the peace of the youthful spirit. Get ready for my bugle call of peace. Here we go.
Peace, 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 I can hear the bugle sounding, roaming around my land, my city and my town. Peace, 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 I can hear the voices ringing louder while my bugle calls for peace. Get ready for my bugle